What?
Almost perfect.
Here she is.
Yay!
Ta-da!
If tape the roll, watch you walking late. Have to edit the first one.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order with the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those of you that have agendas, the minutes did not get done, so we have no minutes to accept. Crow Hill is first on our agenda, although two people aren't here that wanted to be here for that. So I don't know if you can hold off a few minutes. The police chief wants to be here, and the Board of Health wants to be here.
Sure.
So I
They
just
both said they would attend.
Yes, I saw Phil this
Cancel
morning.
or something because of the weather out.
So, I saw Mike Weedy on
I
there.
saw Mike.
How long are you gonna be?
5 minutes.
Okay, why don't we do yours?
Okay.
Maybe they'll show up and then we can get you guys done, so you can get up here.
Mike, I just printed off the, you want to talk about
Yeah,
this?
that would be great.
Oh, Phil's here.
Interview.
Yeah, this Phil.
And now we get these posters.
This would be that.
Thank you.
Jeff, Jeff's printing. I'm doing Jeff. Hi there.
So I have a few grant-related items. The first one, just to get it out of the way, is the form I just gave you, the packet I just gave you. Those are the housing rehab program guidelines for the FY12 grant that was awarded this summer.
Okay.
Those guidelines were included in the application last year. And so this is just to formally adopt those guidelines. They're the same operating principles that we've used since 2006. The only thing that's changed in it this year is I included Hubbardston intermingled into the text. Templeton retains control over the program. Even the lien on housing rehab projects in Hubbardston, Templeton will get the program income back from that if the home is sold. So from a Templeton perspective, nothing changes. And so just ask for acceptance of these program guidelines for the FY12 grant.
So we need a motion to accept these guidelines for the CDPG grant.
Okay, I move to accept these guidelines, known as the FY 2012 guidelines for the CDGB grants for Baldenville and
For the housing
Hubbardston
rehab.
Regional Housing Program.
Okay. He's seconding. Any discussion? Hearing none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And what else?
Next few items are related to the new application for FY13. The due date is February 15th. Jeff, do you have a copy of the letter that I gave you?
I have the items. I
Yeah.
have. All set. They got it. Okay.
The due date is what?
February 15th. So that'll get submitted online. And so I just have a few motions to request for that. The first one is to approve the submittal of the FY13 application. And it's going to include a grant amount of $538,272. The two projects will be Back Bay Phase 6 Memorial Street and an outreach worker for the Council on Aging, according to the job description that was approved at town meeting.
Okay. So that's the first motion we need?
Yep.
So we need a motion to approve and let Mike submit the grant application for $538,272.
I guess I can make the motion, but I just can't vote on it. So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Abstain.
Julie?
Yes.
And I will vote yes.
The second item is approval of the revised community development strategy. The priorities, most of them are the same as the previous version of the CDS. I've worked in a few different items into the priority list that we've talked about at various selectmen's meetings and community development strategy forums, along with comments that I've just heard around town throughout the year. And it just more reflects what's going on in town. It doesn't lead the town in any new direction that has already been planned.
That's this page here.
I'll make a motion to approve community development strategy priorities, the updated FY 2013 Templeton Community Development Strategy.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Just making sure this doesn't include Memorial Street. Yes.
And Julie?
Yes.
And the last one is approving up to $125,000 in the town's Chapter 90 allocation or an alternate source to contribute to the FY13 CDBG application, should it be funded. We went through the budget this afternoon with the engineer, along with Bud and Ron and Jeff. And based on what the town has available this year under grant funds, trying to include two different activities, it looks like we're going to need up to the $125,000. That's the same amount that we've got the past couple of years. Last year we benefited from great bidding climate and didn't have to use any of it. And so hopefully that'll continue. The estimate for this year's project was based on the bids that were received, although we did discount the bottom three. We were fortunate to get those to award the contract, but it's hard to bank on getting those going forward. So.
Can I comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The key words in this request are up to, and as Mike just said, I'm going to amplify, we bid the paving at the town rate, which is off of the state contract, which is about 60% of what a private contractor could get. We may, as we did in Phase 5, we may benefit from favorable bid rates in a low market, but we can't guarantee that. So that's why the word's up to. With our fingers crossed, it may be nominally a small amount of money, or if we're lucky, like we were in Phase 5, no Chapter 90 money at all. We just can't promise the town that, so we have to say up to.
Okay. Did we get a motion yet? We didn't. So I need a motion for this. To approve contributing funds up to $125,000 from town's Chapter 90 allocation for Phase 6, for the FY 2013 CDBG grant.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
I have to abstain.
Julie?
Yes.
And I will vote yes.
And last question, there's going to be several items to sign that I'll need to submit with the application. Are you automatically authorized to sign those on behalf of the board, or do we need a motion for that?
The chair.
Can we
Sure,
just
yeah.
amend the motions to include the chair signing?
Or you can just make a motion to have the chair sign.
The chair binds the law.
Move to allow the chair to sign the
Grant.
grant applications.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And Julie?
Yes.
All right.
Can I get that one back? That left?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Make it easy.
Okay,
Good try.
Phil's here. The chief has not made it, so we'll have to go without him, I guess. He did because he knew it was at this time, so you guys are up.
Thank you. Joseph Meiser, attorney for Crow Hill, and I have Mr. Marshall here with me tonight as well.
Yes. And you're looking for renew your license for the upcoming 2013 season. I know there's a couple of issues. I know Mr. Ledger has one. He's sent you an email about it. So I'll let him speak first, and then we have some our usual noise complaint issues from last year. That's why I was really hoping the chief would make it, and maybe he will after Phil's done. Maybe he'll show up. So Phil, come up and speak first. And you
Hello,
can respond.
I was here, I never met you, but I've seen you on site. Rachel Meader. Okay. I'll speak to two issues that I'm dealing, well, under my jurisdiction. One of them is the lack of septic system for the facility that's being used as a kitchen for the Lions Club. I have approved plans for something that you were going to build at one time. Looks like it was a toilet house, bathhouse is the wrong term for it, but restrooms is what I'm showing from the plan from Chris Canoe.
Yes.
And I'm showing the Lions Club building on that plan, but I'm not showing that as part of that septic, which as of this time still hasn't been installed. So I'd like to know what's going on with that. And then the other thing is just a set protocol. Like if we do get noise complaints, usually it comes in through the police department, and then we'll follow up. We did follow up on Royalston Road. Sometimes it's a little hard to correlate the actual activity by the time we get there. We do have a noise meter. I did find a new place to have it calibrated at a much cheaper price. And the public health network that we're part of, looking at picking up that cost. So if we had a noise meter, usually we borrow DEPs. Sometimes it takes a little time to pick that up. So timely response to actually getting out to where a complaint is being generated doesn't always happen, but I'd like to know what the protocol would be. Who am I going to call? We got a complaint. I call you. I call you. I mean, I know I've been down. I've had some issues. There were some issues, and then trying to differentiate between the park activities and then what I call rogue activities, because there's other activities, four-wheelers, bikes that happen on not your facility. But could be or possibly be the source of the complaint. It's from us separating what's real and what's not real. So those are my two concerns about going forward. So as far as septic plans, I know I got to talk to Chris. He needs to update.
He's updating the plan, so that will include the the Lions Club thing. I think last year when they did, we had to do so. They had to update their water to hook up the water, and it was dumping off into it's a small amount of water, but it was dumping off the building. So I had put a tight tank in, which will tight tank or a grease trap. It'll turn into a grease trap, which is part of the process of a kitchen. And I didn't quite know that it really fell under a kitchen, but I think it does, or a restaurant, because it's there's a certain amount of seats and they prepare food. So Chris is he's gonna update the system, and we're gonna install the system even if we don't install the building this year. We hope to install the building, but just because of the economics, we've just been using Saudis' bodies in the buildings.
So that tight tank, which Chris was calling a grease tank.
Grease trap. Yeah.
Grease trap, external would be a grease tank, is actually under the plumbing code. Our Title V takes up after the grease tank, but I talked to the building inspector, and he hadn't gotten any plumbing permit pulled on that?
Well, they were doing, it would kind of went, that's probably my fault, but it is my fault because they would put the plumbing in at the same time. I put the tank in because they were, I think maybe even the plumbing inspector or somebody had said that you can't just, or maybe it was yourself. Somebody looked and said you can't let the water go even.
Well, when I saw it was there at our facility and it was running water,
Right.
where is it going? So that was my immediate concern. It was just not going into a pile of rocks. And then back and forth, I know Chris, I worked with him. He said grease tank temporarily, sounded like a temporary fix to me, but then when I checked the plumbing inspector, we didn't pull a plumbing permit for that. It's under their jurisdiction. But going forward, I'd like to get that all straightened out, basically.
Right. There was a permit for all the work they had done in there.
Inside, but did he actually check that grease tank? Because that's under.
No, I put that in afterwards, along with that, thinking it was all part of the same process, because I did it right when they were doing everything. When somebody had said that, you can't, you have to put that, it has to go in the tank, and the other thing is, they didn't even fill. It didn't
Oh,
even, it hasn't been filled
that's
over.
good.
So it's not they're using it very small, it's for cleaning and whatnot, it's not like it's a lot of water. But it still has to be dealt with under the same criteria as everything else, is what I understand.
So that, want to move forward on that, get that straightened up. I think that can be done, come in with the new updated plans and get the updated permits, and you're going to be the installer. Who's going to be the installer?
I don't know, we could do the system and do it and rush it in prior, but probably what would make more sense is the tank, for the building, the plumbing inspector, if we need to take the tank out, I will.
No, I'm not
It's
saying you need to take the tank out,
whatever
you
he
just want to
needs.
make sure it gets inspected.
Yeah, whatever he
And
needs.
what are you using it for? I mean, if you're going to use it temporarily as a tight tank, then phase into your septic, you need to know how you're going to phase that in some kind of timeline.
Yeah, that's probably what will happen, but I won't be able to answer that without the Chris, the engineer, because there may be regulations that say we can't do that, so we have to tie it in, then we're gonna have to install the system before they can start cooking or doing any work, or whatever they have to do up there,
So when's the first race, when are you looking to open?
Probably March, when do you? April.
April? So you think you can get back to me
Oh, absolutely.
within, I mean, I could set like a target date, like get back to me with some plans within a month,
Yep.
and then we can sit down and discuss,
Well, Chris will also, he'll tell us what the protocol is. We'll find out what that is.
so today's the 28th, so by March 1st, you'll contact me one way or the other?
Yes.
Chris will, as far as that goes?
Yep.
Okay.
Doesn't the police chief have a noise meter?
I thought he did last year.
Yeah,
The police
Because
have.
he's done it
the
several
noise
times.
meter, And there's been extensive testing done before the track opened up in '05. The town had hired, we had hired some noise experts, and they did testing from sites in all different directions. And the noise levels still within the limits. And since that time, there has been testing every year. It's been done, I think, by the police. I don't know if anybody from the Board of Health has ever actually gone up there and done testing, but it's generally done during the events.
Right.
And this year, they actually even tested it during they made certain to test it during the loudest races.
Right.
It's still.
Still within the
level
limits.
was- Yeah.
Chris,
Yes.
is there a way for us to get the results of that testing?
Well, I don't believe they ever did a written report. I think that if you'd have to talk to the police officers.
Chief Whitaker told us at one time what his last results were. I don't remember what he
Yeah.
said, but he said they were within the limits.
Right. There are a couple within the complaints. I think we did testing on 421 as well. But I think that was the only time on the list of complaints, I think there were 19 of them.
There are
that
19,
actually, it was actually measured. Because I think there was a problem with the noise meter.
Which is wasn't calibrated, you can't
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be
technically
calibrated.
make a reading and do any enforcement if you need to, if it's not properly calibrated. It has to be calibrated once a year. We did find the source is about $300 instead of like $1,000, and if the network's willing to pick it up, as long as we are able to share the equipment when it's not in use. I think having one that's calibrated handy. The follow-up that I did was a complaint from Royalston Road. I went there on a practice day where there was some activity, and I did file a noise measurement report. And basically I was just picking up the passing traffic on King Phillips Trail. Wasn't able to pick up any spikes from that area. It's down behind some embankments. And the only a new one that I was aware of that I wasn't aware of before was from Norcross Hill. So on Norcross Hill, they're down there, you're here. So that one I didn't participate in taking any readings, but that would have been a different place in the topography.
And there was only one report from Norcross Hill too, and I think probably it was just the right day at the right, air pressure and everything. We just got.
No, there were two from Norcross.
Because the other thing
September
was,
6th and September 23rd.
Sorry, I thought that was the same.
the only other thing that I was made aware of is you changed the start location of the track. Chris had mentioned where they start. Did you adjust that?
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago, 3 years ago.
Okay, so it wasn't something you could change this year from one time to the other. You were starting, so you've always been starting. Okay.
It doesn't make any difference on the noise that's coming out this, to that receiver. I guess the race that they did, I think, we had a police officer there at one of the events, because he was getting they really did a good job too, because, some of them seemed to be one after another and he kept kept his patience with it, but they did like Joe said, he asked me, he goes, well, when's the pros going off? And I got a little upset with it, because I was, geez, where are we going with this? So I told him, I said, this is the race, and then I went and found them when they were, just before they started, and he contacted somebody who was doing the test further down, so he had direct radio contact with them, right at the source that was in, he said, we gotta just put it at the worst situation, the worst time, and do the reading and test. I think if the chief was here, he probably could elaborate on that, and it was done, so it was. I don't think there was even a reading, again, like you said, the traffic picks up a high reading.
Yes. What's maximum allowable decibels for?
It's 10 dB above ambient at the property line. So,
How about in your readings, what did you come up with?
well, the one time that I took them, you got to set your ambient sound, so you have passing, in this case it was the traffic on 402. So you got to set your reading so you're picking up your background, it's actually background. So that's in your background, and if it's 10 dB above background at the property line of the complainant, and that's sourced from there, then that would be considered a violation according to the noise regulations. However, if it's a permitted sporting event, they may be exempt from, at the time of the permitted sporting event. So when I'm doing a reading, I'm doing it from the property line of the complainant facing the source of noise and setting the meter so you've got your background noise established, so then if you get something above it, then you'll get a spike.
And
I was basically just getting the passing traffic. Beyond that, we weren't picking up anything. But again, where we're up from Red Coleman's pit, and we're not at the pit, we're further up, so there's, there's a ridge right there, and there's lots of trees, so.
a landfill and everything.
When I was there at that time, again, it's all a picture or a sound in time. I wasn't picking anything up from the park. We're quite a ways away, and there's some topography in between and trees. The other thing, you know, when I was talking to the police officer, depending on when the person was hearing the noise, I mean, it could be from Birch Hill behind, because again, there's certain places they're not supposed to ride, but I've also seen DPOs chasing, you know, four-wheelers and bikes off 202, then you're going down behind there where Royston Road is and down, you could be picking up. You know, you don't know. I didn't pick up anything at the time that I was there.
Everything you've tested has been within limits.
That was the one time that I actually did.
And the chief might have more.
Yeah, I mean, he was supposed to be here with all that information. I have a question for you, Rick, actually. Are all the motorcycles and are all the bikes muffled?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
we
that
try
was,
to monitor the two kids. Sometimes the kids will let things go, and so we just stay on them and
Yeah.
try to monitor what they got going and maintain them. So I might just chime in a little on the noise thing, because sometimes the percussion is the actual that will raise the level of the noise. But your ear is very sensitive, so people think because they hear it, and psychological is bothering them, but it doesn't necessarily raise the ambient, raise the level of the percussion. So that might be happening, it seems to be coming from one person. I never approached them, and we thought about it and talked about it, but somebody that, if you guys have talked to them with a chief, that person may want to come down and just see what we're about, because it might satisfy them. You know, you might think we're, you know, just a bunch of kids running around like crazy guys, you know, something that, maybe they come down, they see that it's family and it's women running, wives running it with their friends, and, you know, what's going on might satisfy them. I mean, I don't think at this time it's probably right for us to approach them, because they probably have some bad sentiment towards the whole park.
any other questions from the board?
One
Jeff?
comment?
Yep.
I'm not familiar with the regulations, only vaguely am I aware that you have to have a muffler, and you can actually take noise readings within 10 meters or 20 meters of the bike at idle, at throttle. I think on behalf of the town, we'd simply ask one thing of you, which is that you kindly make every reasonable effort that you can to enforce those regulations. Don't let the riders have open pipes. Make sure, of course they want more open than, because it's more, I get all that, but just do your best to enforce the existing regulations right there on site, and it will help all of us.
Any questions from the audience? Yes?
How long have they been open?
How many years now?
Since '05. that was the
Fine,
first-
so
How long have they been cooking down there?
pretty much the whole
Oh, I don't know.
They started the second year?
Yeah, maybe almost right away, but
Yeah.
they did a lot, they brought stuff in, it was only a little, they had a truck
Yeah,
for a while,
Yeah.
then they got the buildings up, so.
the Lions Club, they started with like their little truck, and then over the years they've expanded, now they have a building, and they've expanded it a lot. They actually also let town non-profit unit functions go in there and help them cook and raise money. I know when my oldest daughter was in school, we did it with the drama club for 3 years in a row. We went up there 2 or 3 Saturdays and cooked and raised money for the drama, for the programs.
Then it behooves them to do things right.
Yep.
And put in a system that's gonna work. All the clubs in this town have to follow the regulations. And it's only fair to everyone else that does things right, that they do it right too.
Yep, and he's gonna.
And that way, if you have any illness, mosquitoes, water that's not going where it's supposed to, sewage that's not going where it's supposed to, it's not gonna come back on you. You cover your butt at the same time. It seems like, somebody should have told you that a long time ago.
Any other questions? Go.
To the second thing that I asked, and part of the police chief has this, but I'd like, you know, contact info and how you want to be called. If I get a complaint, I'm involved in it. how you want, who do I call? I call you, I call
You
you?
could call me, you could call, or you
You
could
know,
come
which
down.
number I use?
You could come there and just.
No, I do, I understand that. Well, sometimes when we get a complaint, you know, I can shoot you an email, let you know what's going on, and then set up a time that, you know, I mean, I know I can, when you're open, but sometimes we might get something off in between and we want to set something up. So if we had just a simple response protocol, you know, very simple, call you, here's the numbers, blah, 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 and we can just follow steps. And you're right what you said, as far as involving people. I mean, a lot of times if you're able to communicate with someone that has a complaint, a lot of stuff can be resolved, especially if they understand what's going on. If you're just this place that stuff happens and they don't get to see, you know, what's really going on. And it's true, you know, it's families, it's, you know, it's a good activity. It brings people come, you know, they're always stopping at the local, whatever local stores. So communication is really key, I
We're
think.
gonna be in touch, so I'll get you our information by the, you'll have the protocol that we're gonna be talking.
Okay.
Because that needs to be resolved, everything needs to be, the system should only just finish putting the rest of it in, until, even if you don't put the buildings in, he can do all that.
Will?
Yeah, Phil, my, just input, basically, since we had Triple E last year, would they be notified if there was an issue with that, from your perspective? I think that would be something that you would be able to take and end up handling to these folks, because you don't want to end up having anybody out there at a time when we do have problems.
And that's, you know, having a contact list, sometimes I just shoot you an email. I know with Otter River State Park, you know, I shot them an email, but then DPH had already contacted them, although we have no jurisdiction over state parks and state land, but at least giving them a heads up, so, you know, definitely.
I believe you guys are done before it's dark anyways, right?
Yeah.
So there'll be no mosquitoes during the day.
Kurt?
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm probably one of the closest neighbors to Mr. Marshall's place down there. And I have to really listen to try to hear them racing. And I know they're down there. But hell, I can hear the train in Baldwinsville too from my house, if you really listen for it. So really, as one of their closest neighbors, I have zero issues with what's going on down there as far as the noise complaint. Just me personally.
How many races, actual races, are you gonna have? Sunday races? 7, 8? I forget what you do.
Yeah, I think we're submitted for, or we're approved for 9.
Yeah.
We'd like to keep that the same. Some years we haven't even filled those.
Right.
10.
I know with the economy, it's probably been down too.
Yeah, this is a thing of passion and fun, and,
Yeah.
and you know, if the right fit isn't there, there's been, you know, some people that approached us over the years, that it just isn't the right thing for us or for the park or for the town. We just don't do it. We've done some benefits too, things that.
No, I was just gonna say that I had been down to it was a couple of years ago, but it's a well-run operation.
Yeah, I've been there several times.
You know, as far as contacting the person who's filed the most noise complaints, and, you know, that's something I'd be willing to do. I'd call him first and see if he's willing to come down to check it out.
Might not be a bad idea, just to involve them a little bit in the field.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none. I would take a motion to grant the recreation permit for the Crow Hill Motor Sports Park contingent upon Mr. Ledger getting his issues resolved with the drainage and, you know, whatever he was talking to him about.
The septic.
Septic
Issues. Septic issues, yeah. So moved.
One second.
So having had the motion and second, any other discussion? Last year.
Would there be a deadline that they need to take and end up getting that to fill?
Before they can open.
Oh, before they can open.
Yep.
I didn't hear that in the
For the
motion.
Lions Club.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the only facility they have there is that Lions Club kitchen.
Yep.
The plans are for this, it's not a bathhouse, it's a
Restrooms.
bathrooms.
Yep.
If he has adequate septic to handle the kitchen, and the restrooms are gonna be built down the road, as long as, I mean, we have plans for that, so this just has to be adapted to be able to handle the kitchen floors.
Okay.
If the bath, because they use porta potties right now.
Right.
Down the road, if they're gonna build the restrooms and
So right now, it's just to,
to
septic
take care of
for the
the
kitchen.
flows from the
Yeah.
kitchen.
okay,
Allow the kitchen to open.
right. Okay, so I would then assume then if it's not done, then they just can't open the kitchen.
Correct.
Until
They could still,
Right,
there's-
the parking
He can,
open, but not
park
the
is still
kitchen.
open,
Park could
they
open,
just can't open the kitchen.
But they're part of the team, we're gonna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it
I'm
straightened
sure
out
you
so
will.
they can do what they've been doing.
Right, and I'm sure they'll be on top of it, they don't want to lose that either.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Patrick?
yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And Julie?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ritter, special town meeting.
We have selected and gotten approval for a date for a special town meeting, which would be Thursday, March 7th, at 7 PM, here at Gansett Regional Middle School Auditorium. It is my expectation tonight, though things can change, that there are two issues. I don't know exactly how many motions would be made to deal with two issues, but there are two issues before the town at this special meeting. Well, two groups of issues. One are the accounting and financial issues. There are two of those that have to do with the MEMA grant money, reversing that out, and raising and appropriating the necessary money, either from free cash, from budget cuts, from surplus, what have you. A second related financial issue bundled right in there is that the Department of Revenue has said they wanted us to consider, they're still working on this, but consider rescinding the sewer vote that we took at the special town meeting in the fall, because their perception is that expenditures do not match revenue in the enterprise fund. If they can be convinced otherwise, we won't have to do this, but that does not mean the work cannot go forward, it just can't go forward this fiscal year. We can defer it to the next fiscal year, and they can pick projects up as revenues match up with expenditures. But we voted about $165,000 of work, and they're saying that they don't see that revenues, because you have to pay operations first before you do any additional work. They don't see that operations and revenues will support these additional expenditures this fiscal year. I've said it twice. Their concern is about fiscal 13, the year that we're in. So dealing with those issues are going to be the primary purpose of the meeting. One other thing has come up regarding the school building project, which may require us to take a vote at this special town meeting to place town land under agricultural restriction. I use the term loosely or colloquially, land swap. If we build a school on Crow Hill, and that would require the state making a grant of some acreage on Crow Hill, the land that is there is a cornfield, and the State Department of Agriculture has a agricultural restriction on that land. Senator Brewer is working with us actively, and we have identified a parcel of land that the town owns over on Elliott Hill that may be, has not yet been determined, but we think may be an appropriate substitute. And so we would need a town meeting vote to place town-owned land on Elliott Hill that is currently just lightly forested and partly paid under a permanent agricultural restriction, to swap the restriction that we're taking off of Crow Hill. So if it plays out that way, that would be a separate vote, a separate motion, basically for a permanent an APR on 12 acres at Elliott Hill. And those are the only issues that I know of at this time that would be on the warrant.
Can
Could I ask a question?
Certainly.
Are we voting to set the special town meeting date?
We're voting to set the date, and then we could, of course, open the warrant tonight and decide when to open and when to close.
Yeah.
But I think I recommend that you select the date first, and we'll work backwards from that.
And you talked to Mr. Bergeron tonight?
The moderator is available, the town clerk is available that evening, and the room is available. So we're all set should you choose to go forward on that date.
So, move to have the special town meeting on Thursday, March 7th at 7 PM in the middle school auditorium.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Patrick?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
All right, so close the warrant on,
Well, here's the question. You can close, you must close the warrant no later than 2 weeks before that date.
right.
But of course, you want to vote the warrant also, which
Right.
means you want to have a board meeting. So unless you want to have a board meeting on a Thursday night, which would be up to you, and that would be Thursday, the 21st of February. The next regularly scheduled select board meeting is Monday, the 11th. So the question is, you could certainly close the warrant on the 11th. It's, in essence, closing it more than 14 days before the meeting. That is okay. It is not improper. It's still 2 weeks from tonight, and anyone can approach the town in the next 2 weeks. Or you could have a special board meeting between the 11th and 21st on the time and date of your choice to actually close and vote the warrant, should you want to do so.
Comments?
Comment.
Oh, I do have a comment. I feel that when you're having a special town meeting, we don't know what other departments may want to put on. And most other departments meet once a month. So by opening it tonight on the 28th and closing it on the 11th, that's significantly less than most boards, committees, and commissions will meet within that time period.
But I mean, if it's something that urgent, they can always have a special meeting. We're gonna have another meeting 2 months from now, so, you know, the May meeting.
Right.
So, I mean, this is just something we have to do to get this other stuff all cleared up, really.
Right. Well, I think it's important. I don't think we're up for the March 7th special town meeting. I mean, I wish it could be earlier. So that's just my 2 cents worth.
So if you wanted, we could close it on the 18th. That would give them a third week, and then have a meeting on the 19th or 20th, just for the,
The 18th is a holiday, though, so it
Okay.
have to be the
Let's
close it on
15th, or you could make it like noon on the 19th, or
Close it on
10
the
o'clock on the
19th,
19th.
and then have a meeting on, again, the 19th or the 20th.
Yeah.
The 20th would work better for me, because Tuesday nights are kind of hard right now.
So moved, and then we move to open the warrant tonight and close it on November, on February 19th
Say noon.
at noon time.
No, I'd say high noon.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Why is it hard on Tuesdays? For you?
Because I have things to do.
Yeah, you'll go up there, keep score, $40
It's a
game.
job. No, it's not $40.
What's
We
it
don't
gonna
need to
be?
get into that.
It doesn't matter anyway, well, it's
Well, I'm asking you, why can't? It's got 3 other people, how do they vote? 3 other people.
for me, it doesn't matter, but if it makes a difference to him, then why?
All right, so the motion was to close the warrant on the
19th.
Tuesday the 19th
Tuesday the
Noon
19th.
at noon.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Seeing none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
And then you will have a meeting
You
on
want
the
to have a
20th.
meeting on the 20th? We don't need to vote that, just.
Yes.
No, we'll post a meeting. You'll have the warrant, you'll be able to view it in advance and just vote the warrant.
Tell you, I was at the game that night.
We've
Got
got
a
tape
feeling out
recorders
here
and
in a
lots
hurry.
of tapes.
That's why I did it.
We'll fly you back.
Oh. I wonder if remote participation works for,
I have a pen and paper, so I know how to
Yes.
handle this.
I'm speaking on behalf of the elementary school building committee. They have a meeting tomorrow night, so I want to bring it up to the board. I'm sure they're going to say, yeah, okay, we have to go forward with what Jeff had just mentioned to you. But can I just work under the assumption that the board want to vote, let the committee, through myself, the committee, Jeff, move forward with preparing this warrant article for the select board, because we're dealing literally daily with the State House, and we need to get it there for legislation on a state level. We've already basically, they asked, and we've delivered a piece of land, like Jeff had said, in kind. It's almost an even swap, land for land. We have a, thanks to Sue Burns for finding it on his system map.
Sue knows where all the hidden parcels are.
We also, just said we're under such a small time restraint. We don't have time, we don't have liberty as a board to wait for this board to meet next to say, okay, we need to do something on this, because basically what I'm getting at is.
Well, you can submit it
Through
as your
Jeff,
board.
we will basically have it ready for you to.
Right. Yeah, you
say,
can submit
okay.
it as the school building committee.
That's what I'm going to do, but I need to brief the board tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Once they watch this on TV, or Mark writes it tomorrow, but we do have a meeting tomorrow, just so I can get the board up to speed where we're going with it. But right now, we're actually, through Jeff's correspondence with Senator Brewer's office, we're waiting for them now to get back to us. They asked, we found, we gave it to them, what do you think of this? So now it's up to Department of Agriculture to take a walk or take a hike. And figure out whether that's suitable land. And get back to us. And we do have a plan B, but we're just gonna wait for plan A and see how it pans out. So with that being said, the board's fine with us moving forward with that.
I don't think we really need to take a vote on that. I think as
We
a
are talking
committee.
town land. And
Right,
it's not-
as a
it's not
committee.
It's not the, as chairman of that committee, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah.
It's up to us. We said we're gonna try to find land to build a school. There was nowhere in that description that it was up to me to deed restrict town-owned land in its place. So
Right.
that's why the board,
Okay.
just myself spoke.
all right.
I want you guys to know
I
tonight.
see what you're saying.
So there's no guesswork later on for the next 2 weeks. We need to have an answer that.
Does
you
the
guys
board want to
find.
take a vote to allow the school committee to, elementary school committee to
Prepare the warrant article for you.
prepare a warrant article for this?
Yes, yeah, and let me recommend that what the authority we're looking for tonight from the board is to
Negotiate
look
with the state.
for, find, and negotiate a suitable parcel of town land, currently town-owned land,
With the state.
which meets MDR restrictions for agricultural use, and to follow that, a town meeting vote for a permanent ag restriction, an APR, on that land. Yes, we've identified a parcel, we think it's the right one, we haven't sold that yet to the state. They may say, no, go find another parcel, or find 2 smaller parcels, whatever they say, we'll have to react to.
Right. So what Jeff just said.
That the board authorized us to go seek an appropriate town-owned parcel on which to place a permanent agricultural restriction. And of course, by your meeting on the 20th, we'll have an article defining carefully and legally a parcel of land for your vote
So
on the
moved.
20th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Yes.
Can I just ask a question? I just thought of something. I know back, David Coons had a list of town-owned land that was under the control of conservation. I didn't see anything when I researched it, didn't see anything on the field card. But that wouldn't be a conservation restriction. That would have been just under the control of the Conservation Commission. Kind of like the East Templeton Pond area.
The Department of Agriculture already ruled out any land under the control of the Board of Conservation.
Oh, okay.
They're
All right, so
seeking to
that's
lock up
okay.
new parcels.
Right, so if
For
it is-
political reasons, as you can
If
understand.
it is under conservation restriction.
No, I don't mean the conservation restriction of the Department of Agriculture.
No.
I mean
Locally.
town-owned land.
Local
that would-
conservation.
If it's already
Yeah.
locked up, the way it was described to us from Department of Agriculture was that if it's already restricted in
Locally.
town, locally restriction, whether it be the conservation restriction or whatever, then we can't sacrifice that because it's already protected. We have to find another parcel and take it off the
Okay.
open market. So-
Yeah,
But we do have,
I'll see
we'll
what I
look
can-
into that, I didn't
I'll see
realize
what I
that. So
can
that
find.
is, we do have a second
Okay.
option.
So, any other discussion on the motion? Which was just to let them, you know, do the piece, get the warrant article done, and then I'll go to town meeting.
Right.
Okay, Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
You have on here, discuss dates for annual town meeting.
Well, warrant dates. The
Warrant
question,
dates.
the general question is when you'd like to open. We know when we have to close, which is no later than 2 weeks before the annual town meeting, but is it 1 week before? 7 days before? No, 14 days.
14.
Do we know the date, Leo?
But we also
Well, I
have
would
to
assume
get
it's the
requirements to
14th.
get it to the advisory.
Yeah, town meeting will be the 14th
Because
of
the
May.
election's on the 6th.
It's what, May 14th?
But, you know, the advisory should be given more than, I think, more than the minimum amount of time to review a warrant, so.
24 hours?
That's not enough?
That would suggest that the 30th of April is the latest we could possibly close. I might recommend we close a bit earlier, maybe the 23rd or 24th, which gives them an additional week to review. And while you're thinking about that, we only have to have, I remember this discussion last year, the select board only has to have the warrant open for 14 days. You can open it longer if you wish. You can open it tonight and close it in 14 days. You can open it tonight and close it on the 30th, or the 23rd of April. So it's just a general discussion of when and how long, and what's convenient to the town and the board.
Well, let's make a plan. I would move that we close the warrant on the 24th of April for the annual town meeting.
I will second that motion if we open it tonight.
I was just gonna say without opening.
Is that what you just told me? I assumed we were opening it tonight.
I'm good with that.
Closing on the 24th?
24th of April.
Yeah, that's a Wednesday.
Right. What time?
Noon,
Motion noon?
of course.
April, Wednesday, noon, okay.
That'll give the advisory board time.
I hope so.
No, it will.
We're not giving you any more tonight.
Well, come to think, you'll want to vote that one, I'm just thinking, when, maybe we need to back up a little bit, you need to vote that warrant. You can, it's closed, but you can then vote it, looking at April, there are, it's the, well, 2nd and 4th, there are 5 Monday nights in April, coincidentally.
Right, so we don't meet again till the 13th of May, which is after the election, that's
Yeah.
way too late.
So we would have to meet.
So we'd have to have a
just
special meeting for
warrant.
that one too.
Yeah.
On the 24th.
Well-
Your regular schedule would be the 8th and the 22nd, the 2nd and 4th.
Right, but that's a holiday as well, the 22nd.
Oh, that's.
So why don't we just change our 22nd meeting to the 24th?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that would work.
Instead of the
fine.
23rd, just do it on Wednesday.
Yeah. You'd have a board meeting on the 24th, close the warrant, and vote the warrant. The same.
And I would say if the selectmen have articles they want, we should do that at our first April meeting, which is the 8th.
Okay.
How's that?
Discuss all select board warrant articles.
Yeah.
We can also put this out on the web and put the word out. I would encourage people to not wait until the last minute. I say that every year. They always ignore me, but it's really good to bring them a couple days
It's still
before.
gonna have to go through legal to make sure they're in, if it's any board and committee, it's still gonna have to go through legal to make sure it's a legitimate task of
And
law.
worded
Right.
correctly.
Yeah, I
That
actually
takes some
like the
time,
way
too.
our new town council worded the motions. I like that better. So,
Okay. Just more precise.
So what was your
Well,
motion?
no, it leaves them wider open, actually.
Oh.
Gives you more latitude.
right, so if you wanted to make a substitute motion. it's
Oh,
easy.
okay.
The motion was to close the warrant on...
Close the warrant on
24th at noon,
April 24th at noon,
opening it tonight.
and
And we'll meet on the 20th.
we don't have to make our meeting a part of the motion.
Right. All right, so the motion that's been moved and seconded, I believe,
Yeah.
was to close the warrant on April 24th for the annual town meeting at noon.
Yep.
Now, will that also be for the special within the annual?
Yes, good, I'm glad you brought that up, yes.
Okay, also,
Okay.
I think if it's not, I'm just gonna do the math here. 1, 2, yeah. It gives us enough time, yes.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Ritter, 252 Bolivar Road.
Yes, just some feedback at our last meeting. Someone inquired, what are we doing about 252, and why don't we just go out and sell it? And I said, well, I need to come back to you, I need to talk to town council. I'm glad I said that, because I wanted the chair and the public to take note of the Chapter 30B manual here, which is state law. And it says that real estate, like any surplus property of any town, has to be sold according to certain protocols. And in this case, since we're talking about a piece of land with a building on it, a piece of real estate, the recommended procedure, the required procedure is, first of all, to get a current market rate appraisal. I want to talk to the assessor and/or maybe hire an independent appraiser, but to get a fair market appraisal of the value of this parcel, which we should be able to do in the next, 15 to 20 days. It's not that difficult. And then write a request for bids, an invitation to bid. It goes into the central register at the Commonwealth. It goes in the newspaper, and it has a very specific deadline for providing a sealed bid to the town. And then we have a public meeting for a bid opening of those sealed bids at a time and place to be specifically identified in that invitation to bid. So it's the protocol, it's what we will do, and if we follow that path, it's going to take us 60 to 90 days to actually sell this piece of real estate, having it deemed surplus. So that's what we'll do. I just wanted to inform the board and the public that's very much the path we will take.
We do have the option to put a low bid on.
Yeah, what I'm gonna say is, can you say, this is how much
Yes.
we expect?
Yeah.
You can even throw out all of the bids if they do not meet your minimum reserve price. So we will set that price in the invitation to bid, based on the appraisal and perhaps a discussion at a future board meeting. And if no one bids that price, then we can accept a lower price if we wish, but we can also just throw all the bids out and start over.
Chris,
Yes.
does that building have, or property have a clean 21?
It does.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It also, it coincidentally has an approved, Conservation Department approved design for a wetlands crossing for a new driveway.
See what Al brought in?
Yeah, for a driveway, so. No, it'll stink.
Yeah, I'll give it to you, you can kill it.
That's probably squash bug.
Bring it outside and freeze.
Look at a tissue.
No, I'm not.
I'll do it.
No,
No.
they stink.
I know these.
Really, it's a squash bug.
There you go.
Did she take it?
She did.
No, it's a flying bug. Roach?
No.
Way over there.
All right, thank you.
I've been waiting for you all morning.
Better to kill it, then it won't keep invading us.
No, it's gonna
You know, these things go.
Oh.
Okay.
My question is, the money for the appraisal, can that come out of town building expenses or
It
repairs?
could
or-
come out of town building expense,
Selectmen's
not a
expense.
repair. It can also come out of selectmen's expense where we have some. I'm expecting the appraisal to cost us $100 or $150. It's a pretty easy appraisal to do, but we just want to determine what a fair market value is and not over or underbid the property.
Is that it for that?
That's it.
Will?
If you grant a little time to set up, while we're setting up, I'll end up updating you on a few things. You all set? As far as the East Templeton School conversion, on Monday, the holiday, last week, on Monday, the holiday, the TRW, which is working with the state, came through and at no cost